Hey, Courageous Nourisher. It is week 6 and we are cruising right along. The topic today, I had to stand up. I couldn't sit down and talk about this because it was just too powerful to me and it got me so excited, and I had to get up and get on my feet and be able to move my arms all over the place because that's how I talk and that's who I am. But my biggest thought process here is I started going through the intuitive eating process and I started to think, okay, I'm starting to really face my struggles now because I don't have food as a coping mechanism to do, to use it. So my biggest problem here was that I was staring like these unmet goals in the face. And now I'm like, well, I'm here, but I was supposed to be here, and I'm looking at it this way, and I'm upset with my life and where it took me, and I should have been here. I thought, when I was in high school and in college that I would be here, and I'm only here. And I want to talk about goals and passions in life. And this is such a loaded question to me because goals and passions are one of those things that it's just like, the words are tossed around and thrown around in our society like it's no big deal. So I want to know what goals you have in your life. I want to know who you want to be in 5 to 10 years. Like legitimately, where do you want to be in 5 years, in 10 years? Who do you want to be in 5 years or in 10 years? Like, do you know that the answer to that question? It's totally okay if you don't, but it's something that I want you to start thinking about because this is so crucial to your development. And I do feel like as we become and feel more lost in our lives, this is something that can lead us back to that promised land. So this conversation, it's probably going to make you feel uncomfortable because it did make me feel uncomfortable too. And I know it felt like, I always felt like I wasn't good enough to reach my goals. Like that these goals weren't meant for me, that I'm not the person that's supposed to reach out and, be big. I'm supposed to be this small, unheard person. And, I'm meant to coast through life and I'm not meant to exploit it. And that's fucking bullshit. Excuse my language, but that is one of the biggest things that held me back, just thinking that I wasn't good enough for these goals, that I'm not meant to be reaching my goals. We all have a fire inside of us, and I don't know what that is in you. For me, it was starting this business. It was starting my coaching. It was doing what I love to do. But I used to set goals and, I expected to achieve them in a shorter period of time, or I was always looking for that quick fix or that something that was like, well, what can get me there faster? Because, I can skip this, and this part. And I just get me, tell me all your secrets. Tell me all the tips to get there. And then I would have these small hiccups and, I would think, okay, not a big deal. But then a big hiccup would come and I would think, okay, well, in the movies and everything, like they totally got through this way better than I did. And, this just isn't meant for me. But we change ourselves for a small period of time and we don't realize that change happens in small amounts over time. So we're expecting this big, huge change in our lives. Like, oh, everything's going to change and it's going to be so much better. But change is found in those little gemstones that we're picking up and filling up our bucket with. The change happens when you have an increased amount of gemstones in your bucket. So we're looking for this big picture, this thing that's going to say, oh, well, once I get here, I'll change, or once I'll do this, I'll change. And that's all destination thinking. We're not focused on the journey. We're not, saying, okay, where do I want to be in 5 years? I asked myself this question and I remember the first time I did it, it's stupid. It's like an interview question. Like, oh, where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years? But legitimately ask yourself this, where you want to be, who you want to be. And I remember like falling out of my chair when I was like, I have no idea, because all the goals, everything has been, set in front of me my entire life. So, in your 20s, you're in high school and then you're, okay, once I graduate high school, I'm going to go to college. Okay, you go to college, you graduate college, and then, okay, I'm going to get a big career. Okay, I'm going to, start small and then move up. And okay, got the career. Now it's, let me find a husband and I'll have a family and then I'm going to get a house and a dog and a white picket fence and all these things. And then I'll be happy. And once I do this, I'll be happy. And then we're here now. We have all these things. We have the house. we have the husband, we have, the career, we've achieved all those goals, and now what? So even if we're following the path of society in our younger years, it was always laid out for us. Like, okay, high school, college, career, family. Like, it was laid out for us, this path, and we just followed it. So, we're here now, and we're so confused because we're still not happy. We still don't know what the fuck is going on with our lives, like who we are. We don't even know if this is the right career path for us because we chose, I don't know about you, but I know I chose one of the easier things. And I didn't want to, go too far out of my zone. So I'm just going to stay here and do this. And I'm not really good enough to do this. I'll probably just stay here and do this. And even if you did go out on your goals and maybe you are living your dream job, there's something in you that wants more, that knows that there's something else out there that's like pulling you in, and you're just like, God, what is it? So I want to talk about, the path that now we have to create ourselves. So we have this promised land right here, right? This is like our dreams and our goals. And this is civilization, right? Like our whole lives, we kind of had this path to civilization. Great. Now we have this gap between our civilization and our promised land. Our promised land is like our big dreams and goals that like one day I'm going to be interviewed on Ellen and, like those really big ones that are just big, hairy, audacious goals. And now it's hard because we don't have a path laid out to our promised land. We have to dig our own path. And that is scary as shit to start digging our own path because we don't know where we're going to go. We take the long way. We might take this route, and all of a sudden it's this big zigzag. And when we really kind of just expected a straight line, just like it was for us when we were younger, but it's not. It's anything but a straight line. It is this wiggly as fuck line that is just out of control. And we think, that once we hit one little bump in the road, it only magnifies why we think, oh, see, I should have just stayed back there. Like, this isn't for me. Because back in civilization, we have everything we want, but yet it still feels like we're in prison. Like, do you have that feeling too, that there's something more for you out there? That there's something pulling you in a direction and you're not really sure where it's going to take you? Follow that. And I get it. Like, you're scared. When I started this, I started off as a fitness blogger, just hoping like, oh, I'm going to help, women get skinny after pregnancy and, help them because I'm a bodybuilder, so I can do that. And, realizing that meal plan after meal plan was failing these people and nobody could stick to them. And it was all up here. Like the same struggles that everybody went through were all up here. So I started here, but my path kept winding in different directions. And oh, dead end, this didn't work. Try this way. But I kept digging and kept going. Something I never would have done in the past because I never thought I was capable. And I didn't know all the answers. The truth is, it's not our darkness that frightens us. It's our light. And that light, it scares us. Sometimes we sabotage ourselves because we don't think that we deserve the good. We've done things in our past that make us feel unlovable. Therefore, we don't feel like we deserve love or goodness of any kind. That's a Tony Robbins quote, and I felt that because I'm like, I never felt like I deserved anything good or to set goals for myself that were too big. Like, set goals, Christy, but not too big. Like, make waves, but not too many waves. I never set that BHAG, that big, hairy, audacious goal that was just like, whoa, this is scary. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this. And, we punish ourselves in the worst way by holding ourselves back from doing these things. But that's a fraudulent claim against ourselves, and it only magnifies when another struggle comes along, like I said. So all of this time, these struggles come and we duck, we dip, we hide, we just try and like step away from it or step around it. But our biggest problem in this world is that we think we shouldn't have problems. We think we shouldn't have struggles. Like, well, why do I have this money struggle? Why do I have this relationship struggle? Like, it shouldn't be like this. But we need to start inviting those struggles in. Like saying, hey, you know what? We're having an issue. Come in. Come sit down. I'll make some tea. we'll duke it out. Because we're always going to have these issues and these problems. We think these things shouldn't happen to us. You know, we think that we shouldn't have trouble paying the mortgage, and that we shouldn't have trouble parenting our kids, and that we shouldn't be having this much trouble trying to find ourselves in this world. But if these things were meant, if we look at it in a different way, so instead of, well, shit, why is this happening to me? Maybe look at it in a way of, you know, what if this was meant to be put in my path? What if this struggle was meant to be put here? Like, I'm having a financial struggle. I'm having a parenting struggle. I'm having, you know, a relationship struggle. I'm having a struggle in my own mind with myself. I'm battling, you know, self-confidence issues and self-love and self-awareness issues. But what if that struggle was put here for you to learn, to take something out of? You know, all these struggles, we can take a look at them as if they're trying to help us, and something that's going to guide us into who we want to be. Because I'm going to tell you this like I would tell my son, who's 3.5, but you can be anything you want to be. Like, when did we stop believing that? When, you know, as children, we kind of, you know, we're always told we can be anything we want to be. We could be an actor, we could be a firefighter, we could be, you know, got a microwave maker, like whatever we wanted to be. We could be anything we wanted to be. What the hell happened? Like, if you could be anything you wanted to be right now, regardless of circumstance, money, time, whatever it might be, what would you be? You know, this goes back to the question of finding your morals and your values in life. Like, what do you stand for? What is your passion? And I hate that word passion, because it's like I said, it's been thrown around. It's such a loaded word that it's just thrown around like love. Oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. Well, it's passion's the same way. Like, it's so misconstrued now, but it's your morals and your values. It's what keeps you up at night. It's what you think about when you're, you know, when you're driving in your car, when you're taking a shower, when you're kind of zoned out in a meeting and you're like, oh man, it's so hard to help people find their passions, because it's so different in every person. You know, it's something that always whispers. It never shouts. Passion is that thing that it's always inside. It's the thing you always keep going back to. You keep going back to it, keep going back to it. You know, it's that thing that you get lost in time with. You could do it for hours on end and it makes you happy. I mean, when I write my courses, when I'm doing this, when I am doing what I love, my husband has to come in at midnight and say, get to bed. Like, you have been up way too late. You went to work a full day. You got up at 4:30. Like, he has to pull me out of here, because I'm just, and by the time I'm in bed, I'm like, because I'm so just lit up from everything. And I'm like, oh, but don't forget this. And oh, don't forget this one too. And it lights my soul on fire. It's something that, you know, I never would have found if I hadn't have gone down that path. If I hadn't have, you know, not knowing where it was going to lead me. I never knew I was going to be an intuitive eating influencer. Like, what the fuck even is that? You know, how am I going to make a business out of this? How am I going to, you know, all those questions. Like, when am I going to have the time? You know, something that you're passionate about, you're going to find the time for it. And I don't care if it's stamp collecting, puzzle making, or if it's something that, you know, you just, a project at work that you're trying to work on. You know, maybe if it's even working on yourself, like, follow that. Keep going down that route, that where you're like, maybe it's this. Just keep going. Just go down that path. Start digging that path, because it's going to lead you to your promised land. And you might take some wrong turns. And you know what? I'm not even going to say might. You will take some wrong turns. Expect it. Expect that you're going to struggle. Expect that this is going to be hard as shit. And that what you really want to do with your life is worth doing. Because this isn't your practice life, you know, and this is something that we're all either at the middle of our lives or past it or a little bit before it. We're all right around that marker, and it's time to kind of pause and say, hey, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to set an example for my kids? And this passion that I have, it doesn't even have to make you money. It doesn't even have to be a business. Maybe it's just something that you love to do. You know, maybe you do want to make a business out of it. It's your choice. But you know that you have these thoughts in your head, these things that are like, whoa, hold on. You know, it's probably money, time. I don't know how. You know, oh, well, if I do this, then my kids, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do at this time. And those are all bullshit. Ooh, sorry. But if you don't know how you're going to make it, don't worry. Like, you will. The only failure is when you stop and go back to civilization. It's when you start coasting through life again. You know, it doesn't even have to be anything physical. It can be something like, I'm going to work on myself and I'm going to do it every damn day until I start feeling good. Like, it can be something inside of you, just something. Like, what do you want to work on? What's the one thing you want to do? And I get it. Like, you're afraid. You're afraid to cause waves because, you know, you're afraid these waves are going to crash into other people's expectations of you. You know, and people put us in this little box and they say, okay, this is Christy. This is who she is. She's in this little box and I'm going to keep her right here because this is who I think she is. And so we see that perception of us and say, oh God, if I step outside of that box, that won't be who she thinks I am anymore. You know, but really, I'm not this box at all. I am here. I'm here, a little bit here, a little bit here. It's like we're scared to fail, but you know, there's not a business or an idea in this entire world that hasn't failed. It's easier to accept the fact that, you know, I'm just not good enough. That it's easier to go back into the comfort of, you know, civility and instead of venturing out into the wild. Like, who wants to take the time and effort to make their own path? Who the hell wants to do that? Like, can't you just create one for me and then, you know, I'll follow that? So it always comes up every single goal that we're trying to reach, whether it's a program you're trying to start at work, you know, a business or a book you're trying to write, lyrics and a song. I mean, a person you're trying to be. This barrier comes up every single time in every single struggle. So my goal for you is to find that 5 to 10 year goal. Write it down. Who do you want to be? Who do I want to be in 5 years? And in 10 years, where do I want to be? Where do I see myself? And don't retreat this time. You know, this is the classic. I love seeing vulnerability and overcoming failure in other people, but I find it disgusting and shameful in myself. And we love cheering for the underdog, but we never want to live where the underdog sleeps. You know, this is why we love motivation, why we love movies, because it always ends up in the right spot. You know, we can live through that fear in other people, but we never want to experience that pain ourselves. So what scares you? You know, what's the thing you want to do, but you're too scared to do? What's the thing that you daydream about all the time and that, you know, you're just scared to do, to put yourself out there for fear of what other people are going to think of you? When I first started this, there was one friend that stopped me from posting. And I hadn't even talked to her in a while, but I knew she didn't like what I did. And I knew she thought that I was full of myself and that she thought this was stupid and that I wouldn't go anywhere. And she's hoping that I fail every time. And I know it, and it just irritated me. But she had been my friend for so long. And I'm like, wow, like, I can't believe this. It got to me. And that fear of, well, if she thinks it, then somebody else is probably going to think the same thing. And if they think it, then the whole world's going to think it. And you know what? It is probably stupid. I probably shouldn't just, you know what? I'm just going to stay quiet. I'll just keep my little post. I'm still going to do it, but not hard. I'm not going to go hard at it. And I'm not going to, you know, really try. I'm just going to kind of hold back. It took me 2 years to put out these videos. I was so scared of what people from high school that follow me on Instagram would think. I was so scared of what my family would think. I was so scared of what my current friends would think, thinking that, you know, I don't know what they would think, like that the same thing that she would have thought. And that paralyzed me. And I don't want this to paralyze you, because the first step is the scariest. To actually go to it and say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. 2020 is right around the corner. We have an entire fresh slate ahead of us, an entire decade that we can change our thought patterns, that we can go for what we want, that we can have our goals. And by 2010, we can say, I did that. I did that. by myself. I put in the work. I did everything I was supposed to do. I failed so many times, but I got back up every time and kept digging my path to the promised land. So I'm going to leave you with a couple of quotes and things from Les Brown, because he's one of my most favorite motivational speakers. And he says, if you died, what dreams would die with you? And what books, lyrics, and ideas? The most important investment you can make is yourself. You are your most treasured asset. So what contribution do you want to make? What fears do you need to step on? You've got to get to the point where you're sick of living like this. You've got to want more. All right, courageous nourisher, I hope this sparked something in you. I'm like almost at the verge of tears. I have chills and hotness at the same time. I feel like it's a really cool fever. I don't know. But I love you guys, and we'll see you next week.